So recently, I put out a video about the Peppa Pig fanon wiki, going into detail about all of the fake episodes written about a toddler show. Since the video has been doing quite well, especially by my channel's standards, and so many of you have been leaving your wiki suggestions in the comments, I've decided I might as well give the people what they want. These are your Unhinged wikis. Let's get into it. Our first wiki is the unanything wiki, suggested by many commenters, but first suggested by Astro. This is a wiki which is dedicated to the spread of fake information about everything. Quote from the wiki's page about itself. The unanything wiki, often called unanything, is the greatest landmark of all the interwebs. It is run by the unanything team. Their mission? Rid the world of these things called facts, and replace them with their own biased and inaccurate research. They are now at 3,449 articles, including this one. If there's any way to describe these pages, biased and inaccurate would work pretty well. For example, let's look at the wiki's page for pie. I think the fact that they have to specify in the title that they're talking about actual pie should be indicative enough for what we're getting into here, but for the sake of being thorough, the page is split into 4 sections: flavors, pie abuse, pie people, and not pie. The flavor section isn't particularly noteworthy, it just lists a bunch of different types of pie, with the only standout items being pie flavor and out-of-tech flavor, or a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away flavor. The pie abuse section has a grand total of 3 sentences. Real pie can be abused by putting in a bomb, poison, or something dangerous. It will be turned into a pie called pie, so watch out. The pie people section is split into further subsections, being pie makers, such as the Muffin Man and Mario, pie eaters, like Homer Simpson and Sonic the Hedgehog, and pie abusers, such as Napoleon Bonaparte and Bowser. Finally, there's the not pie section at the bottom, where it lists items commonly confused for pie, such as cake and the number pie. Another character listed as a pie maker is Lala the Teletubby, which led me down a whole other rabbit hole on this site. As it turns out, the Teletubbies are seemingly major antagonists in whatever alternate reality this wiki is pulling its pages from. Quote from their wiki page. The Teletubbies may look like they want to play with you, that's a setup, but they are actually an evil ally of the BBC and members of BAFTA, Best Abominations for Toddler Assassination. They're apparently also basically immortal and want to kill Homer Simpson for some reason. Each of the Teletubbies all have their own individual pages as well, which are also just as wild. The purple one once blew up 3 dimensions to kill an ant, the yellow one is the general of the Teletubby army, and the green and red ones are the dictators of Brazil and Poland, respectively. The wiki also lists a bunch of different fictional and real-life places and their long and storied histories, such as Lego City. The page lists many, quote, sad, tragic events that have occurred within the city's borders, such as the time Justin Bieber moved there and ruined everything, or when half the town got bombed by Scooby-Doo. There's a bunch of other pages like this too, like how North Korea was apparently founded by Wario in 1642, or how Teletubby Land was ravaged in the Great Teletubby Land Massacre of 2015. So overall, this wiki is somewhat similar to the Peppa Pig fanon wiki in terms of content, but it has that early to mid-2010s internet charm that I appreciate. It feels weird that nostalgia for the 2010s is a thing now, but hey, who am I to argue with the unstoppable passage of time? The next wiki we will be looking at is the Fiddlebert lore wiki, suggested by Ramen42. This wiki is dedicated to the chronicles of the seemingly made-up Pikmin character Fiddlebert. Quote from the wiki's page on the man himself. Quantavious Poo-Poo Fart Fiddlebert Guacamole Melon Muncher Wall Jumpington K. Tushilus Jr., also known as Fiddlebert, is a protagonist/antagonist/anti-hero found on the GameCube versions of Pikmin 1 and 2, the original Wii U version of Pikmin 3, the first 50 copies of Pikmin 4, and early releases of Hey Pikmin. In all later versions of the mainline Pikmin games, he was removed due to controversy. Nintendo of America declines to comment on Fiddlebert's existence. Visually speaking, Fiddlebert is literally just a green version of Olimar, the protagonist of the first 2 Pikmin games. The page also lists many of Fiddlebert's controversial actions, claiming he was responsible for the bubonic plague, the Irish potato famine, the sinking of the Titanic, the creation of Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate, the shutdown of both the 3DS and Wii U's eShops and online servers, Blockbuster going out of business, both world wars, the Watergate scandal, the collapse of the Soviet Union, economic inflation, YouTube Shorts commenters, the removal of YouTube dislikes, the creator of Luke Guini's Undertale musical, KSI's Thick of It, the notoriously long 10-year gap between Pikmin 3 and 4, and 7-year gap between Geometry Dash 2.1 and 2.2, the reason why GTA 6, Terraria 1.4.5, Doors of Stone, Half-Life 3, Portal 3, and Chess 2 are taking so long to release. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You, always playing in public spaces, balconies, and Pokemon Legends EA being PNGs, Waluigi never being added to Smash Bros. Or having his own game, the Nintendo Virtual Boy, the failure of the Sega Dreamcast and the Wii U, Sonic 06 being a buggy mess, Instagram Reels, Garten of Ban, the reason why Larry the Cucumber's prediction of entertainment being randomly generated is accurate, the Switch 2 Welcome Tour not being free, the Salem Witch Trials, and people somehow buying the Cybertruck. The wiki also details the many games that Fiddlebert has starred in, including such hits as Fiddlebert Works at McDonald's, Fiddlebert War Crime Wednesday, and Fiddlebert's Midlife Crisis. But yeah, the main attraction here is clearly Fiddlebert's page and the list of his many crimes. This next wiki comes from commenter Barhamaniacs, being the Canadian Boys Wiki. This is a pretty bizarre one. It's about a fake multimedia franchise starring human versions of Canadian cities and towns. Pretty much all of the major Canadian cities I can name are represented here. Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Winnipeg, Quebec, they're all here. And since this is apparently a multimedia franchise, it's not just the one show represented on this wiki. There are several shows and movies described here. For example, there's the Provinces and Territories show, which, as the name suggests, is about humanized versions of Canada's provinces and territories. A Nova Scotian Way of Life is a reality show about the cities of Nova Scotia specifically, and is apparently the most popular reality show on Canadian television. There's also Toronto's Tale, a coming-of-age movie about the music career of Toronto, and another movie called Once Upon a Time in Canada, which is about one of the Canadian cities learning to live with a chronic illness. And by the way, according to the Headed history, this was all done by one person. Now, I know I'm kind of taking the mick out of this wiki, but please leave the person who made this alone. The site was seemingly abandoned by her years ago, and she probably doesn't want to be reminded about it by random people on the internet. But with all that said, let's move on to the final wiki of this video. Our final wiki is the All Dimensions wiki, suggested by Kamor VA. This wiki is dedicated to fake universes and dimensions, and they can be literally anything. Case in point, the Orangest verse. Quote, the Orangest verse is a verse that is the essence and embodiment of the color orange, containing Googleological amounts of oranger verses and oranges. It is the third and final verse in the orange chain. The atmosphere in here is 99.9912% orangin and 0.0088% orangine, with the orange core at the center. Any and all attempts to change the color of the Orangest verse will fail. Everything here is orange, even down to the elementary level. But not just the elementary level, as subatomic particles and negative-sized particles are still somehow orange. So if you couldn't tell, everything in that universe is orange. No other colors exist. And for every kind of scientific page on here, there's pages like The Nugget. According to this page, the nugget is a large mishmash of various upgraded versions of well-known materials, except they taste infinitely better. It also takes the shape of a chicken nugget, and looks like one from the outside as well. Above the nugget is the Great Burger, which is a verse that contains the nugget. It takes the shape of a burger, and eating it will give the consumer an uncontrollable feeling of power. The Great Burger is so delicious that it is impossible to dislike the taste of the Great Burger, as its taste automatically modifies to be better than the best thing the consumer has ever tasted. Another funny page here is the Free State of Borea. It's a dictatorship in the North Pole run by Santa Claus that also has a space station orbiting Earth, apparently. Finally, there's also a page about a universe called the Britverse. The Britverse is a verse that is under British colonial rule. The Britverse is a dangerous verse, with no civilization ever returning from it, speculated to be enslaved by the king of the Britverse. The Britverse will change any universe to a Britverse if they are nearby, sometimes creating multi-Britverses. The date of the first Britverse found today is 1647. The Britverse people, or the Brits, dislike the French verses and the Ire verses the most. You'll be immediately transported to a Britverse if you play God Save the King 1,215 times, drinking 1 cup of tea for each time you play the song. This is currently the only way to access a Britverse. I could keep going, but I think this is a good stopping point for today. And there you have it. 4 more wacky wikis suggested by you wonderful watchers of the world. Like with the Peppa Pig fan and wiki, don't go making fun of any of the people who worked on these wikis. They were probably just bored one day and wanted to write something silly. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'm open to making another one of these, so leave some more wiki suggestions down in the comments, and like and subscribe while you're at it. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later.